It says the sources have told him that the Lakers have been on the hunt for a veteran point guard and that Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook are on the list. Well, let's look how possible that is. Here's the Lakers' financial situation. Their top 4 players will make more than $100 million. They do have at least 10 free agents. The Lakers can offer the $9.5 million mid-level exception if they don't bring back their own free agents, and their next available first-round pick to trade is not until 2027, which is not soon, but sadly not as far away as one might think. Zach, what is a realistic way for the Lakers to upgrade at point guard and transform this roster a little bit?
It's going to cost you your depth. It's going to cost you Kyle Kuzma, maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for salary reasons if we're talking some of the big names. And it might cost you signing and trading Dennis Schroeder. And the whole point of getting Dennis Schroeder was to do exactly what we're talking about. Give LeBron James someone else who could run the offense. And Dennis Schroeder just did not shoot it well enough. 33% from 3 in the regular season, even worse in the playoffs. The ideal point guard for LeBron James is someone who can run some of the offense. But I think even more importantly, if LeBron's going to have the ball a lot and AD's going to have the ball a lot, space the floor, and that's what Dennis Schroeder could not do for them. And the ideal guy is going to be a combination of all those skills, but shooting has to be a big part of it. Good luck to them trying to find that player with the trade assets they have. It's possible. It's just going to be tough, and you know the Lakers are going to try to hang on to Taylor Horton-Tucker, and that every team that they're dealing with is going to look at him as the guy they want most of all. So that will be an interesting little tug of war.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is THT is one of those guys that's up and coming. So
right.
The Lakers going to try to hold on to him as much as possible, but it's going to be hard because of that salary cap for them to get a veteran guard. You talk about CP3. I don't think he's going to give up all that money to go to the Lakers. And you talk about Westbrook. It's too much money. And you got to think about it. The Lakers aren't going to do that. If you're going to look for a guard, you got to go with someone like Kyle Lowry. I know they didn't get him in the trade, but maybe you can sweet talk him and say, yo, man, we can give you whatever we can. Come play for us. Let's win a championship. You know, you only got one, dog. You know, one ring don't really count in NBA. You got to get 2 or more. So come play with us with the Lakers. Even if you can't get him, Gordon Dragic. There's so many guards out there that I think you can get. But for me, right now, you need a guy like Kyle Lowry, a dog that's mentally tough, that's going to say, LeBron, get off the ball. I got the ball. And I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to get everybody in a set, and we're going to run this thing and win a championship. So Kyle Lowry is the only guy that I see, or Dragic. Those are top 2 for me if they're going to get anybody.
Well, Robert, you know I was singing the Kyle Lowry chorus at the trade deadline and really had wanted the Lakers to do what they needed to do to make that deal because I thought that it would be insurance for what actually happened, which was Anthony Davis gets hurt, which was a big part of why the Lakers' playoff run fell apart. If you had had a steadying presence like Kyle, someone who'd been there before, who is, as you say, a dog and who can shoot,
yes,
that might have helped them get through maybe an early round or two. Of course, the Suns proved they were a pretty tough opponent as well, so we'll never know for sure. I know that Kyle Lowry is looking for big money this offseason.
Last contract.
But, Zach, we've seen Kyle looking for big money before. There was a time, was it the last time he was a free agent? You can correct me here. He thought there might be the point guard market basically dried up right before he hit it, and it turned out that the Raptors were able to get him for a little less money than they thought they had to. Some of the issues here, Zach, also with a trade, I want you to sort of suss out for me. The names you mentioned, guys who could go in to sign and trade if the Lakers had to match salary, are those names that a team that has, say, Chris Paul wants to take back for Chris Paul? I mean, isn't that going to be kind of the problem if the Lakers feel that they're not good enough to play on their roster or they're not going to be championship contenders? Isn't that part of the issue here with any sign and trade options?
Well, first of all, Kyle Lowry still got paid. He still got $30 million a year. Players at that level
saying he didn't
don't get lowballed.
I'm not saying that he didn't get money. I just mean that, you know.
He didn't get Chris Paul money.
He got less than he was initially looking for. But, of course, he got paid, and he won a championship, so he paid it off. But, yes, please go ahead.
And the other part of your question, yeah, of course, that's exactly the issue that the Lakers are facing. Those are not sexy names, and Chris Paul is a sexy name. It would have to be sort of, if you're doing that kind of trade, it would have to be someone whose salary is maybe a little distressed or the team doesn't really get excited about paying that guy's salary. It's not going to be easy. There are, though, a ton of point guards on the free agency market this summer, some of whom will re-sign with their own teams, some won't. So it is possible something kind of shakes out and there is a game of musical chairs that somebody or two somebodies lose and the Lakers all of a sudden are in a stronger position. We'll see.
Yeah. By the way, when anybody takes even like a little tiny bit less then they, as an NBA player, might want to get
out with CP3. So, Ramona, what should Chris do?
I think that he will decline that player option and do an extension with Phoenix. Now, that's what he should do. I think that's what he will do. But if you decline the option and you become a free agent, there is always a little bit of doubt about what you can do. Okay, but I think his leverage is never going to be higher than when he led the team to the finals. I know they didn't win; everybody's disappointed, but he was the missing piece for them, and I think they love him. He loves them. I think if he goes anywhere, I'd be very surprised. But if he goes anywhere, I don't buy anything outside of LA or Phoenix.
Which LA team, though?
Which LA team? Are you saying that it could be the Lakers or the Clippers?
I'm just saying, there's two, so, you know, is there one more than the other, maybe, you know?
Yeah, and look, never say no. I know we had a whole documentary about the leaving of Clippers, but...
All right. Perk, what do you think?
Well, I think if he was to leave Phoenix, he would go to the Lakers.
Yep.
But I'm with Ramona, George. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yep.
And one thing I always say, and I get it, right? We as media, we put pressure on a lot of guys to win championships. But we have to remember, at the end of the day, this is their job. So I always encourage players to get your money, get your lettuce, get the most dollars that you possibly can before this run is over with, right? And we know that Chris Paul wants to win. He is a winner, but he wants to get a championship. But I cannot be mad at a man for passing up a chance to make, 44, or whether he signed the extension for $100 million. Like, I can't be mad at a guy, especially at the age of 36 on his way out. Championships come second because this is his workplace, and he got to maximize on the dollars. We just saw LeBron James, first player ever in sports history to reach $1 billion while playing the game of basketball.
Yep, first team sport player to reach $1 billion. Now, Chris Paul's situation is a little interesting, though, because he's also the president of the Players Association, right? So I don't think he should set or would set a precedent of taking a discount, right, to go somewhere else. So I do think, to Perk's point, you do have to capitalize financially. To your point, Ramona, he's in a situation where he's never going to have better leverage leading a team to the finals. But when we mention the other options, right, like L.A., to pull it succinctly, LA's cap situation, Ramona, is like a Facebook status. It's complicated, is it not?
Yeah. Look, the only way you go to the Lakers or the Clippers is if it's a sign and trade,
right?
Which means they'd have to give up something, and Phoenix would have to be willing to take something back. You have to work with Phoenix to do that. Chris Paul did that before. That's how he went to Houston. It was a sign and trade. So I don't even know a sign and trade. He had to work with the Clippers.
That means Phoenix would take Schroeder back, right?
So I don't think Phoenix wants to do that. I think Phoenix wants to keep him.
Right, of
course. You have to convince Phoenix to work with you to do that. It's very difficult to do that for Chris, but I just think he stays right there. I don't buy any of the stuff with New York or any of the teams out there. He lives in LA. His family's here. It's been such a good fit for him in Phoenix, and the only other doors I could see opening would be the Lakers or the Clippers. Both of whom need point guards, by the way.
But you know what else? You know what else? Right now, Phoenix is eye candy to other free agents, right? When you look at this Phoenix Suns team, you look at the culture that they have built going to the finals. If you're a free agent, you should consider going there. And then I have all the trust in the world in James Jones, our guy, champ. George, you know about him down there in Miami. He's going to figure out ways to improve this roster. He's going to get pieces that need to be and fill those roles that he saw to get them back to, or try to get them back to where they need to go.
Yeah, listen, I am a big fan of James Jones going way back to when he played at American High School in Hialeah, Florida. All right, Big Perk, that's when I knew of James Jones. Way before his days at the University of Miami or playing for all the NBA teams and being a GM. So I do agree with that, but I'll ask you quickly, and I'd love to get Ramona's thoughts before we move on as well. Where are they in the hierarchy next year if all things are even? If the Lakers are healthy, if the Clippers are healthy, if Utah is healthy? Where is Phoenix in that mix, Perk?
Well, they're top 5. One, because I feel like Kawhi Leonard is not coming back this season. 2 is because I do not trust the Utah Jazz, and they have given us every reason not to trust them. So when you look at the teams in the West is wide open again. It's wide open again. Now, if LeBron James and Anthony Davis come back healthy, which I think they are, they're going to be my favorites coming out of the Western Conference, is the Los Angeles Lakers.
I agree with you. I think the Lakers will probably be the Vegas betting odds, and I think internally, around the league, that's still the team in the Western Conference that people measure themselves against. And let's see what the Lakers do, by the way, as we approach free agency and the draft, because they have been very active in setting up different scenarios for themselves. I think last year, Rob Pelinka showed he wants to get better. He's going to keep trying to do things to get better. Now, last year, I think they got better, but it didn't fit together as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're going to